broth-based garbage, Bill. Terrible.
What about those that are lactose intolerant?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess you're stuck with crappy
with
old
broth.
Manhattan. It's terrible.
I don't eat either one. So.
No. Yeah. Try to hand it the oysters, but they taste like morels. They taste like dirt.
Like you're supposed to wash the morels before you eat them.
Okay, it's 1 o'clock. I'm going to call the October 18th Board of Commissioners meeting to order. We are going to start with a prayer from Commissioner Wyatt and a pledge from myself.
Lord, thank you for the opportunity to gather together today here with citizens and governance as well as to establish the United States of America on this planet in such a way that you have your hand over it. And I hope that it stays on it for a few more generations, Lord. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Moving on to roll call. Leslie.
District 1 Chairman John Block,
Present.
District 2 Commissioner Gary Heberling,
Here.
District 3 Commissioner Bill Sarkella,
Present.
District 4 Commissioner Roger Ballard,
Present.
District 5 Commissioner Joel Wyatt.
Present.
Thank you, Leslie. Moving on, if there are no corrections or deletions to today's agenda, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved. Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Ballard, support from Commissioner Heberling. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to our meeting minutes from October 4th. If there are no corrections or deletions, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve our October 4th, 2022 minutes.
Support. We have a motion from Commissioner Heberling, support from Commissioner Sarkella. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to correspondence, petitions, and introductions. Welcome, everyone. You would have received your correspondence in your email boxes from Jody yesterday. At this time, we'll move on to commissioner reports, and we will start with Commissioner Sarkella.
I was able to attend Croswell Council last night. They're working on their Harrington Bike Path. And they installed a new kayak ramp a little late in the year for them because they probably won't be using it much, but that is another thing that was done. MDOT project, they're still trying to finish that up. A big issue there is they're having trouble getting cement. So they're going to MDOT's going to move their own cement plant into their project so they can get that done. And then they were also working on a hunter ordinance. So apparently they don't have an ordinance for hunting within the city limits and they need to address that. That's all I have.
Thank you, Bill. Gary?
Hey, I attended all our township meetings in District 2 over the past couple of weeks, and a couple things to note. The blight issue in any township throughout Sanilac County is sometimes hard to enforce and takes a lot of time and takes a lot of thought to get it to move forward. But Washington Township has been successful over the past couple of years with this, and their meeting the other day, they enforced two of them. That one of them is actually setting out halfway on Marlette Road, so they've got taken the task of getting that cleaned up. I attended the Sandusky City Council last night. Nothing real important there. From that standpoint, they approved a generator for the city building when electricity goes down, so they can keep it open. And then Dave Faber, the city manager, reported that he's working with MDOT, putting new highways through M4619 within the city limits, sidewalks, and talking about alternate routes, and plus taking the new asphalt or the highway on M46 to the outskirts of Carsonville. But that's down the road. They're a couple years away. Just working on some of the plans with them now.
Very good. Thank you, Gary. I myself have been working with the city of Minden City. They have got some issues with their water tower. They're looking to get some repairs done too. They asked some questions related to ARPA. I was able to assist them with, and then also provide them some other avenues. I know the Village of Deckerville recently applied for and received a grant to replace the water tower. So working with Minden to get them some of that information. That's all I have.
I attended Flynn Township last Tuesday. Right now, their issue, not really an issue, just general maintenance on the roads, graveling and brining. Also last Tuesday, I attended Marlette Township meeting. One big thing they did, they voted to contribute $20,000 to the Marlette Fire Authority for turnout gear. They have been soliciting members of the authority for help to buy new gear. So that was a nice gesture on Marlette Township. Let's see, I've got Buell Township tonight, CMH this afternoon. And that's about it.
Thanks, Roger. Joel?
Well, the Liberty Wind Park is still a topic of discussion naturally. More and more people are emailing me and communicating with me about the surprise that they have about that popping up. Fremont Township, a week and a half ago, had a planning commission meeting where they recommended the change of an ordinance. I don't know if that's gone through with the Fremont Township full board yet, as I've been away out of town. And like I said, more and more people are slowly stirring to this big change in the landscape that could possibly come on down. And it's a shame that it took a year and a half, but go to your township meetings, people.
Township government can affect you faster than any other form. Is that all with your report, Commissioner?
That'll be it. Thank you.
Thanks, Joel. At this time, we'll have our administrator report. Mr. Roski?
Yeah, first off, I wanted to let you guys know that new carpet has been installed in 3 offices in the building. Register of Deeds office, the law library, and the circuit court room. All done. Looks good. Company was in. I'd like to commend staff. There was a lot of alternative work environments that were created as the companies were in here putting the flooring in. People were getting creative. Court had to be done in other courtrooms, and they were very patient. The project took a little longer than expected, and I'd like to commend staff because everybody just kind of rolled with it and got through without very many issues. And we were able to keep everything on track. No court had to be canceled. Register of Deeds was still open to the public, so everybody, all staff did very good through the project. We have staff that have completed the ALICE training. We've been doing that. That's in case there's an active situation in the building or the courthouse for employees. So some employees have done the refresher. Some are taking the full course because they haven't been trained in it before. That's going well, and we're getting good feedback as well from the sheriff's department putting the training on. So I'm pleased with that. Had a meeting in regards to Lexington's DDA expansion. Myself and Carl Osentoski sat down with some folks from Lexington. It was over Zoom. When I say sat down, that's the new world, sitting down with people right over a computer. But we got together. They went through the proposal of what they're looking to do. Carl and I talked. There's no immediate effect. It's not like it's taking, as I explained before, it's not taking any current funding that the county would receive through tax or anything immediately. If there's an increase as projects are done in the DDA area, it would allow that money, that increase in taxable value, to pour back into the DDA so they could continue to kind of further the DDA area. So, and the last thing was we had a soil erosion board meeting, and as we did that, we looked at the fees. The fees hadn't been adjusted since 2015, so we did make a small adjustment to the fees at the meeting. So that'll be coming before you guys soon. All right.
Very good.
Thank you.
Any questions from Nathan?
Nathan, I don't know if it was you and I spoke, or if you brought it up in a couple meetings ago in your report that you had meetings with city managers. Is that still an ongoing positive thing?
Yep, just had one Friday.
Oh.
Yep, I went to a meeting Friday, and I enjoyed the discussions, hearing what they're doing, because obviously that can have an effect on us at the county, and vice versa. So it's been going well. We just had one just as recently as Friday.
Good.
Yep.
I know last night we had a steering committee meeting. Everyone was invited to West Park. One of the topics that came up is transparency, between townships,
Yep.
County administrators, city managers, et cetera. So people have a better idea what's going on in the community. So, good job.
Yeah, I've enjoyed those. That was a big push when I started. The city managers said they would like a little more collaboration with the county. So
Sure.
Yeah.
Very good. Any further questions for Nathan?
Was there a discussion with the Lexington DDA on maybe putting a sunset clause into the How did that, I know we had talked about that.
Yeah, I had discussed that with them. They said because if it was a bigger area, Commissioner Zarkella, I think it would be easier for them to do that because it's such a small, it's really not, it's not like doing this in the city of Detroit or, a big city. So it's going to take them so long I guess they built projections and how much money they wanted to attain by doing this. And it's going to take them quite a while. So they said putting like a 10-year sunset on it. They just didn't feel like they would be able to get there in time.
Okay.
So right now it's set for 30 years.
No, 30 is better than none. Thanks.
Yeah.
Any further questions for our administrator? Hearing none, we will move on. At this time, it is time for public comments pertaining to agenda items. Are there any public comments pertaining to the agenda today? Hearing none, we will move on to the 2022 Sanilac County Apportionment Report Resolution. And that is on page 4. And any commissioner that wants to read that, feel free.
Don't everybody volunteer at
Yeah,
once.
we were waiting for you.
Finance Chairman Zarkella.
I'll
looks like
do
you.
it. 2022 Sanilac County Apportionment Report Resolution. Whereas pursuant to the Michigan Constitution of 1963, Section 31, Article 9, and Michigan Complied Laws, MCL 211.34 to 11.34D and or 211.24E, the various financial officers for the township, cities, villages, and school districts and authorities have certified that the tax rates comply. And whereas the Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby certifies that the millages have been reduced if necessary, and that the truth and taxation hearings have been held if necessary. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Sanilac County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the spread of the following attached tax requests. Collection and distribution shall be in accordance with the provisions of the General Property Tax Act 1893, PA 206. Local unit treasurer shall distribute the state education tax collections to the county treasurer pursuant to MCL 211.42. Be it further resolved that the county equalization director is authorized to amend as necessary. Support.
Okay, we have a resolution from Finance Chairman Zarkella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion on the topic? Was there someone that was going to do a presentation on this, Nathan, or was this simply for us to approve?
So I talked to Ms. Willing in the equalization department. She's available if you guys have questions.
Okay. I personally don't have any questions related to this. Does anybody else?
I don't.
Okay, hearing none. Is there any discussion related to the topic? There's no further discussion. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Resolution is carried. At this time, we'll move on to a presentation from Community Mental Health Director Will Morris. Will, welcome.
Thank you for the invitation. I do have a handout for you guys. You would have seen in the very nice article that was written in the paper last week, that Sanilac County Community Mental Health has recently received an award from SAMHSA, which is the federal government behavioral health and mental health substance use association. So we have been funded to become a CCDHC. So I've got some slides. I'm just going to run through them with the slides. I brought Pat Bless over here with me. She's my CIO, and she's actually the person who wrote this grant.
Hey, Will, can you move the podium ahead a little bit? We got a gentleman just walked in there. And
Is this okay? So Beth actually wrote the grant that was funded this year. This is actually our third attempt at this grant. We applied last year, and I think the first one was like 6 years ago, actually, when Jim Johnson was still here with us. So this grant is going to allow us to expand services here in Sanilac County to, at a certain point in time, to virtually any resident who needs behavioral health care. So if you move on in your handout to the third slide, it kind of tells you what a CCBHC is. And a CCBHC stands for Certified Community Behavioral Health Center. The purpose of this program is to help transform community behavioral health systems to provide comprehensive coordinated behavioral health care by establishing CCBHC programs. The primary goal is to improve access to services to individuals who are underserved. There are 9 core services that we're required to provide, I believe, at the end of the first year. The first one would be crisis mental health services, including 24-hour crisis mobile teams to anyone in the community that's in crisis. Screening, assessment, and diagnosis for our citizens, patient-centered treatment planning, outpatient mental health and substance use services for all residents, targeted case management, psychiatric services, And then really looking at specific populations that maybe were that are underserved in our community, like our veterans and things of that nature. This grant is for 4 years. It started on September 30th. Kind of an odd day to start, I know, but that's how the federal government operates. And it goes until September 29th of 2026. At that point, we can re-up for an additional grant. Or its potential is that the state has demonstration sites currently. St. Clair to our south actually received this grant, I think it was 5 years ago, and they're a demonstration site as of last year. So they went from receiving $2 million a year through the grant, and I believe they received $26 million this year for additional services to the community. So I don't know what that will mean for us. From a demonstration site, the grant for us is just under $1 million a year for 4 years. So, and why did we really apply for this grant? Honestly, and it was very eloquently quoted in the paper. You know, when I walk around the community, I hear lots of comments from people that I run into, either about the services that we have been able to provide for some of our residents, and then the services that we can't provide. And once we're fully certified as a CCBHC, when I walk around the community, I won't hear any more stories about the services that we don't provide, because we should be able to provide pretty much anything for everybody at that point. Now, granted, we have to deal with the employee crisis that we're all dealing with. You know, if you've been to my website in the last few weeks, you'll see I think we have like 15 openings. By the time the CCBHC is fully funded, we could have 40 or 50 more staff in the county. So, but this is our first step, this planning program. What will it mean to the community? Enhanced services for all citizens, much higher coordination and collaboration with healthcare. Steve's actually in the room, which is kind of perfect time because I actually met with Steve last week to see what we can do to coordinate better with Mackenzie and the rural health clinics in the county, and looking at different ways to enhance the services so that we start treating the whole person. If you go back in time into the 1970s, 80s, and 90s, people were actually treated like with literally 3 different silos. You had if you had diabetes, you had to go to your physical health doctor. If you had depression, you went to see your behavioral health. And if you had substance use, you went to see your substance use counselor, and they were all separate. So CCBHC starts weaving those together. So we have a much more enhanced service delivery system so that we treat the whole person. At St. Allen County Community Mental Health, probably about 10 years ago, we started an in-shape program where we started looking at exercise and diet. And it had such a dramatic impact on some of our individuals' lives that they needed less psychotropic medication. So we are all tied together. And this is just the next evolution of that, making sure that we're taking care of all pieces. You know, whether that be, Nathan was talking about the Zoom meeting he was in, utilizing teletechnology so that we can provide behavioral therapists right into the rural health clinics whenever they're needed, to crisis services that could literally be handled in a law enforcement vehicle, you know, where they have an iPad that they literally pull out when they run into someone who's in distress versus having to wait for my staff. You know, this is a big county. It could take us an hour to get there depending on where we're at. So those are the kinds of services and stuff we could be looking at moving towards in this process. The first thing that we have to do, though, in the first 6 months is to do a community needs assessment. And that's part of the reason why I came here today, because I actually want to incorporate the commissioner in this process. So even though it's my grant, I actually have hopefully some assistance I can get from commissioners. Because really what I'm looking to do is sometime between now and probably January I'm going to send out correspondence to the commissioners and really talk about doing maybe fireside chats in your specific districts. And we'll probably use the 7, because obviously that would be 7 meetings instead of 5. And then really being able to sit down with you and with your constituents in your areas and talking about what gaps and services do you see in your area? Because even though we're one county, we're really just one. You know, Sandusky is different than Deckerville, Minden City. And how can we meet the needs in those different areas? Telepsychiatry might work in some, but as we all know, there's areas in this county we drive through ourselves and still work. So we have to address those kind of address that. So you'll be receiving letters, and then the new commissioners as well, to invite you to become part of that process and helping us maybe figure out a good location in your district. You know, a day that works both for you as well as for your constituents, so that we can actually get more input from the community. In addition to that, we're going to get input from law enforcement, health providers and others, so that we can really determine where our gaps are in our community. Because every community is different. You know, I was on a call with the state about, I don't know, a month ago, and they were commenting on veteran services. And they didn't see us providing as much services for veterans as they see in some other communities. But yet, we have a very, very strong relationship with the Veterans Office. We provide services that, you know, Shannon identifies for us. But we have one of the best veterans offices in the state, as far as I'm concerned. She does a great job. So there's a lot less need for my services with the VA or our Veterans Department. So you see there's differences in every community. So we should be utilizing these resources to fill the gaps that the community identifies. So you can see on the next page is an implementation approach. It talks about the number of individuals that we expect to see increase receiving services from us in year 1, year 2, year 3, and year 4. We set our goals. First year, we don't expect really to be providing services to additional citizens for at least the first 3 months, just because, you know, we have to get all those positions filled. We have to get this community needs assessment to figure out where we're going to targeting those services, but we can easily see us increasing the number of individuals that we serve in the first year by at least 100 people, and then 200 additional ones every year thereafter. And then I can take questions.
Will, my question is you've tried 3 times previous to this year to apply for this grant. Now you've achieved in getting the grant. And I'm seeing a large number potentially of constituents in this county that are going to be able to gain services. So is the opportunity for community mental health in this county greater at receiving another grant at the end of this 4-year period? Because it would be a shame to see these services come and then leave.
The state of Michigan is a demonstration site for the federal CCBHC program. What I see happening is, honestly, I see at the end of the current CMH fiscal year, which would be by September 30th of next year, I see the state expanding the number of demonstration sites to any CMH that's ready to do that has this grant. So will we be ready? I sure hope so. Part of that will depend on the employment crisis and other things. If we get all of our positions filled, we're getting a lot of referrals, then we would probably agree to that. And then our budget would have, you know, anywhere from a 10 to 25% increase. So we would be, and those would be continuation funds. It actually is an adjustment to our Medicaid reimbursement rate. And it's a complicated process, but the amount of money we get funded by Medicaid will change, but we'll be allowed to use, this is what's really odd to me, we'll be able to use federal Medicaid dollars for non-Medicaid services, which we've never been allowed to do before. Even saying that makes me feel like I'm doing something fraudulent, but under these rules, it's different. And we're allowed to use those funds for other reasons through a CCBHC system.
And probably the purpose of that is to reach more people.
Exactly.
People that would not normally qualify for Medicaid
Correct.
reimbursement.
The other issue is that the way the current system exists, you have to reach a certain threshold of severity. You have to be more sick to receive services from us. This model is a prevention model as well, which is one of the things I think is much better for us, because if we can reach, you know, our adolescents, our kids, or even our adults on the first time they experience depression and prevent it from becoming worse, it'll be a shorter treatment period and they won't need services later on. So most of the research will tell you if you can do prevention instead of treatment, it's cheaper, whether that's for diabetes, hypertension, or depression. But the way our funding streams have always operated in the past, if someone was considered mild, we couldn't serve them. This will allow us to serve folks who are quote unquote mild.
So I don't know if that answered your question. You talked about it every year.
Well, we can reapply for the grant, and I don't want to say with any certainty, because you know that we're talking federal dollars. I mean,
But I think that was the question he asked, and I asked
I
after
know.
4 years, you to full staff, you need to hire 40 or 50 people. Say in the utopia world, everything went fine. You hired 40, 50 people. We added all these services, and at the end of 4 years, the government says, nope, we're done. So what happens at that I think you brought up a good point.
I mean,
When that ends,
honestly, that's our life right now. We could just, the federal government could decide tomorrow to terminate the Medicaid program and we wouldn't exist. So I don't want to look to the future as what could potentially happen if funding gets cut. We go through funding cycles throughout our history. Once we're CCBHC certified and we receive those funding, as long as those laws are on the federal books, we would continue to receive those funds.
And well, I'm fine with it. I don't want
I
you
know
to
what you're
think,
saying.
but I'm looking at the future, and we add these people, which is great. We add these services, which is great. We buy 10 new vehicles for employees. In 4 years, it all comes to a screeching halt. What's the plan? At that point?
And at that point, we would have to follow whatever our funders' rules are for the services we're supposed to provide at that point. Hopefully, the way things are looking now, it will only expand. The question is, do we want to be on the forefront of that expansion, or do we want to wait till everybody else in the state moves forward? And worse yet, if we don't push to become a CCBHC, what I see happening is Oakland County will say, we'll be Sanilac CCBHC, which means we have no local control over the program.
Is it just for Sanilac County residents?
This grant is for anyone within our service catchment area. Now, if a Traverse City citizen is driving through Sandusky and has a crisis in front of the courthouse, we would respond under the grant. We don't look at address for crisis services.
It's not transporting people in to live in Sanilac County.
No. I'm talking, if somebody is here in crisis, we would deal with them because they're in crisis. The way the system works right now, which honestly, if someone's in crisis, we deal with them and we figure it out later. In other communities, someone comes in crisis, they say, what's your address? Oh, you're a Sanilac County person, and they call me here, because this happens to me. And they say, one of your folks is sitting in Kalamazoo. Are you going to send somebody out here, or are you going to pay me to deal with it? That happens. And I typically say, deal with it. Person's in crisis, we'll deal with how we're paying for it later, right? Person first, payment later. But that's not how every county operates.
So what I'm hearing you say is this is the first stepping stone to potentially providing greater service. And I do have confidence in your department, you guys execute this properly, where there's a high likelihood that this will be an increased service in the community moving forward.
Like I said, I anticipate serving at least 100 individuals or citizens more this year than we did last year, specifically through this, if not more. I would be really surprised if we don't get offered a demonstration slot within the next 12 to 24 months, which means the numbers actually, instead of 100 people or 200, it could be 1,000 or 2,000. It could be a substantial.
Are there any further questions for Will regarding this presentation? Hearing none.
You'll be getting letters to your folks.
Sounds good.
All right.
Thank you, Will.
Thanks, Will.
Thank you.
Thank you. See you later.
I heard you on the radio this morning too, by the way.
I gave you guys a plug. Did you hear that?
I did.
Yeah. Hate to go back, I think you should have done a roll call on the resolution.
That's correct, Leslie. I apologize. So at this time, before we jump into interviews, we'll have Leslie do a roll call vote on the resolution related to county apportionment report.
Commissioner Ballard,
Yes.
Commissioner Wyatt,
Yes.
Commissioner Sarcella,
Yes.
Chairman Block,
Yes,
Commissioner Heberling.
Yes.
motion is carried. Thank you for catching that, Leslie. Okay, at this time, when we're going to move into interviews, we had one person to interview for the Department of Health and Human Services. That's Steve Barnett. Steve, come up and tell us a little bit about yourself. Welcome.
Thank you. How are you all doing?
Good.
What can I tell you? I didn't come with anything prepared to present. I came to answer any questions you may have, and if you have an interest in what my background is, I can certainly review that pretty quickly for you.
I think that'd be a good place to start, Steve.
So I came to McKinsey in 2008. I've been here ever since, running McKinsey Health System as the president and CEO. My background is primarily clinical. I started off as a respiratory therapist, received an associate's in respiratory, went on and received a bachelor's in nursing at Oakland University in Rochester, and then continued in Connecticut, where I received a master's in anesthesia services. And then about 7 or 8 years ago, I hadn't been abused enough academically, so I went back to Central and received a doctorate in health administration. And I think we've been having fun at McKinsey. We were having a conversation with an organization just last week. And one of the questions was, how long have you been financially viable? And my CFO was able to respond and say, we've been posting positive bottom lines for over 10 years now. So that's quite an achievement in healthcare if you understand how we get paid, which generally is not something that we like to talk about. So.
Very good. Does anybody have any specific questions for Steve? Hearing none, thank you for being here. We appreciate you taking the time.
Yeah.
And taking on the role for the county.
All right, thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're going to do interviews for our planning commission. First up is Louise Blotchius. Louise, welcome.
Thank you. I'm Louise Blotchius, and I do work for McKinsey Health System. I'm their hospital social worker. I have been involved with the Planning Commission, I think, for 10 years now. I got to the Planning Commission because of my association with school boards. I'm currently president of the Carsonville Port Sanilac School Board and the Sanilac County Intermediate School District. And I'm very happy to serve on the Planning Commission. And there's a lot you learn through participation on solar energy, on wind energy, on community development, and our future goals for Sanilac County. And that's what the Planning Commission is currently working on, is a new master plan for the county.
Very good. Any questions for Louise? Thank you for being here.
Okay,
Appreciate your time.
and I'm happy to continue serving. Thank you.
Louise also serves on the County Parks Board.
Yes, that's
She didn't
true.
mention that.
Thank you.
Okay, at this time, we're going to have an interview with Denise Bush. Denise, welcome. Good to see you.
Good to see you. Those of you that don't know me, I'm Denise Bush, and I am one of the current representatives to the Planning Commission for the public. I guess to start out, I can say that in this term, and we've had a few planning commissioners that have come in and out. I have managed to make every meeting in the 3 years.
Yes, you have.
I always come prepared. And, oh, I'm also the secretary, which means I don't get paid, but I put out the minutes the next day. And I too have enjoyed being on the Planning Commission and wish to stay if possible. I've been involved in zoning. I was a planning commissioner in DeWitt Township back in the 80s. I served on 5 different commissions back in the 80s in Lansing on the redevelopment of downtown, the capital. I was a PTA president for approximately 8 of the years that my son went to school. I have one son, he's 42. And just this year, he became a senior member of the State Department in Washington, D.C. And if you have any other questions for me?
Denise, both John and I have served with you on that board, and I want to thank you for a fine job. And I remember when you first came on, I was a secretary. And if you all know, men don't like to be secretaries, right? So as soon as Denise come on and I found out who she was and her background, I elected her. I actually said, you need to be our secretary.
And I don't have any secretarial experience, so.
But you do a great job for us. You got a good background. Well, thank you.
I've enjoyed serving.
Any further questions for Denise? Thank you for being here, Denise. Okay, at this time, we have Jan Cargill.
Yeah, that's me.
Jan, how are you doing today?
I'm good. Although it's sinus season, so I do this yourself. My name's Jan Cargill. I've been a Sanilac County resident since 1996. I'm a retired engineer. I've been looking for ways to become more involved in this community since retiring, had more time on my hands. I actually was involved in developing a master plan for in a corporation setting. I've been involved with the township on making some changes to our bylaws for the placement of cell towers. I'm actively involved in other organizations throughout this community. I have a wealth of experience as a small business owner. I have some legal secretarial experience. This is how I paid my way through college. I love this area. I've on my own done a lot of research into wind and solar panels. I believe they're trying to solve a problem that just didn't exist. I thought it'd be a fresh face to bring into this planning commission. They're trying to update a plan that's about 20 years out of date. And I thought I could offer my services to help in that respect. Any questions?
What township are you from?
I'm Sanilac Township.
Sanilac Township.
Sanilac Township.
Any-
So I have the benefit of the farmland and the access to the weather. One thing about me is I'm smart enough to know we don't know everything. And I'm humble enough to go out and ask for help. I have a large network of people. Understand that bringing in someone from the University of Michigan to talk about farming preservation. I have access to that kind of knowledge. I'd be happy to draw on to help with the plan. That's all I got.
Any further questions for Jan? Hearing none, thank you for being here today. We appreciate your time. All right, at this time, we have some interviews for our Veteran Affairs Committee. We have Boyle Bissett. If you'd like to come up and tell us a little bit about yourself, welcome.
Really haven't got a whole lot to tell you, is I just want to go up here and stand in front of you. I was drafted in 1970, spent 21 months active duty in the Army. My MOS was reconnaissance. My secondary was armor. And I've been on the committee now this will be my third term if I'm reelected. So I enjoy the job and I do it to give back to the county. So anybody got any questions?
Any questions?
Well, first of all, I'll say thank you for your service.
You're more than welcome, Gary.
You've done a great job over the years and been involved with it.
So
Very good. Any further questions? Hearing none, thank you for your service.
you're welcome.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, Charles Cunningham. Charles, welcome.
So my name is Charles Cunningham. I moved to the area about a year ago. I retired from the Navy after 20 years last year. I got asked to serve to go up there and be part of the committee because I guess they wanted a younger face and someone who just, well, I wouldn't say gone through the transition. I'm still in the transition period because not everything's settled out. I was 20 years in the Navy, spent 11 and a half underwater, 17 deployments. I think I have a wealth of knowledge for military experience to provide to the table. Any questions?
Do you have family here in the area?
My mother-in-law and father-in-law live here, Dave Hall, so he passed away right before he transferred here. So that's why we're here, is because it's better than Washington State. So I can actually survive here instead of fighting to live in Washington State. So we live in Buell Township.
Very good. Any further questions for Charles? Hearing none. Charles, thank you for being here and thank you for your service.
Thank you.
At this time, Jeffrey Lyle. Is Jeffrey here?
No.
Okay, we will move on to John Nazworski. John, welcome.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Seeing you also, John. My name's John Nazworski. I'm currently the chairman of our Veterans Board for the county. I've served this will be my fourth term if I'm appointed. we've accomplished quite a bit since I've been greatly improved services, thanks to Shannon, our director. We also now provide a lot of transportation for veterans to various veterans hospitals and so forth. And just, it's my pleasure to call my fellow veteran.
Very good. Any questions for John?
Thank you.
Hearing none. Thank you for your service, John.
Township, you from?
John is from Wheatland Township, John?
Yes, we went.
Okay, that concludes our interviews. Before we move into actually making appointments, I want to say something. Every single one of you that has applied for a position on these boards, we appreciate your application. There are only so many roles to fill, so some of you will make and some of you won't. But I want you to know we appreciate you coming in. And there's also other opportunities within the county. So if somebody doesn't make a committee today, please keep coming back, review what is available in the county. We're always looking for people to actively participate on committees. So
That was the conversation that Bill and I were having earlier. Plenty of opportunities for volunteerism in Sanilac County. You can be an umpire, you can be a coach, you can be on various boards at the county level, you can be on boards at the township level. There's no shortage of opportunities to plug in and serve your fellow citizens.
and thank you everyone for being here. Moving on, we will do our appointments. We have one person applied for the Department of Health and Human Services Board, so there's no need for a paper ballot. I'll entertain a motion to appoint.
So moved.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarkella, and we have support from Commissioner Wyatt to appoint Steve Barnett to the MDHHS Board. Is there any discussion on the topic?
Mr. Chairman, if I can, we've had discussion and we've been at this for a year, and if I am out of line what I'm saying, please stop me, but we've had struggles with the finances at the medical care facility for some time. It's been in the newspaper. We put together a team probably last spring for two of our commissioners, and it's not an easy task. And sometimes we make decisions in this boardroom that not everyone disagrees with. But I want to go back to back when I was a kid, back in my teens, we needed a medical care facility in our county. And Si, you probably remember that. We're the same age, and we're still young, but we're the same age. But we needed a medical care facility, and we had different homes throughout the county, throughout the Sandusky area. And at that time, I don't know who was all on that committee. They've come and gone a long time ago, but we promised our county that we would have a medical care facility. And we went through some struggles, no doubt about it. COVID caused some problems, a lot of problems. We made some adjustments. We brought in a team of people here last fall, was it? Early this year. And so we went with some of those recommendations. We went with with the knowledge and the input and the vetting that we did. So we talked about what we should do for leadership at medical care facility. And I know that not everybody agrees, not everybody disagrees, but please bear with us and understand we're doing the best job that we can with the knowledge we have, with the leadership we have, and what we think needs to be done moving forward. Do we have a crystal ball and everything that we've done and said is going to be A+? I don't know, but we had to take the facts that we had, the history of the medical care facility, what Medicaid hands out, what we look at as people coming in over the next few years, and the services that we have to offer, and how can we best do that financially. So that's where we're at. And please, when you leave here, after we vote on this person that's we're going to vote on today, please understand we've done the very best job with the knowledge and the gut feeling that we have where we need to move forward. Do we need to make more changes down the road? We don't know. All right. But the bottom line is we want to keep that medical care facility here in our county. We want to make it viable. We want to make it financially sound. And I just want you to know that. So when you leave here, you'll say, well, that person should have got it, or they should have done something different. Maybe we should have, I don't know. But with the information we have and with the history and with the input from professionals, this is where we're at, so.
Very good. And I can, I sit on the, Gary's correct. The medical care facility has been going through a little bit of struggles. I think Steve's going to be an excellent fit. He brings a lot of back knowledge about the medical field. And I serve with him on the medical control board, and he's always been excellent at keeping an eye on the books there. So if there's any further discussion, we've already have a motion and support, so we'll go ahead. All those in favor signify by saying, or do we need a roll call?
Yeah,
Okay.
no, not a roll call. You're good.
Okay, so all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Steve is appointed. Moving on to our planning commission board, there are 3 people for 2 spots. So I'll entertain a motion to introduce those 3 people onto the ballot.
I'll make that motion.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Huberling, support from Commissioner Ballard. If everybody will use your ballot.
Thank you.
Okay. Louise, we have 2 votes. Denise Bush, 5. Jan Cargill, 3.
Okay, congratulations, Jan and Denise. You are both appointed to the planning commission. Jan, I didn't know if you are aware of this or not, but there's a meeting tonight at 4:30.
I was not, and I will be there.
Okay, very good.
You, the first, when you get elected brand new like that, you're supposed to bring cookies and coffee.
Well, I'm not prepared.
Congratulations and thank you for your service to the community. Okay, at this time, we'll move on to our Veterans Affairs Committee. We have 4 names to enter into nomination. I'll entertain a motion to enter these into nomination.
Make that motion.
We have a motion from Commissioner Huberling, support from Commissioner Sarkella. Everybody will use your ballot.
Thank you.
This one's always a tough one because we always have a lot of interest in this, and it's a shame. Shame there aren't more openings.
Two votes for Boyle Bissett, 4 for Charles Cunningham, 0 for Jeffrey Lyle, and 4 for John Nesworski.
Okay, so congratulations, Charles Cunningham and John Nazworski. You were reappointed to the Veterans Affairs Committee. To those that didn't, again, we appreciate your time that you spent here doing what you did. And if there's another opportunity, another board that you're interested in, we strongly encourage you to apply.
Thank you very much. Thanks all of you.
Thank you.
Very good. Moving on. We have no county chair appointments, no general resolutions. So we will move into committee reports. We will start with Commissioner Wyatt.
I have none.
Okay, Commissioner Ballard.
Just one little thing from Parks. Jim Bowerman and myself and Steve Posgay, the manager of Delaware Park, or excuse me, Forester Park, met out at Forester last Thursday and went over the plans that we had done for Delaware. And mind you, this is all very preliminary. This doesn't mean we're going forward with this, but there is a possibility for a grant out there. So we are working on getting that plan downsized. That was about 6.2 million. We want to try and get it down around 3 or a little under 3 and do it in phases should we decide to go forward. So we worked on that, and now that's down in the hands of the engineers to come up with another cost projection for us. That's all I have.
Okay, very good. I had a Board of Health meeting this morning. One major topic that's been percolating in the background is the purchase of the Maple Valley property. The Board of Health did move forward today with the purchase of that property. And the concept that's behind it is keeping public property in public hands for the use of the community. Obviously, there's talk out there of the health department building a new facility. That is not something that's on the docket right away. The concept was to purchase the property, utilize it for community functions, and continue to seek funding sources that could potentially down the road possibly offer an opportunity for a new building or something of that nature. So look forward to seeing some things on that. That's all I have.
So last night, the steering committee for the planning committee, Lisa Kenny, we hired her, about a year ago, to generate and help us with the new master plan for the county. Both John and I serve on that planning committee. And then from there, she selected several steering committee members, which she did a great job. So one of the things that we're doing is getting input from the community, and that means everybody in the community. That means every one of you sitting here. And last night there was a steering committee input from at West Park. There's going to be one in Marlette, and I believe one in Lexington over the next few weeks. But we had a great turnout last night, and basically Lisa had 5 or 6 different things on a survey that we did. One, what does Sanilac County do well? Let me just back up one step before that. With this new master plan, we want our master plan to have new people come into our county, have jobs, have a good place to live, raise your children, have good education, and that would entice people to come to Sanilac County. Internet was another thing. So we started out with what's some of the best things that Sanilac County has to offer. Obviously, we've got good hospitals, we've got good schools, we've got law enforcement, and there was a couple more. And you remember what the other 2 were that we brought up? Yeah, you.
I don't recall the hospital or.
No, I don't either.
What's that? Well, at our table, we did, yeah, because there was five or six different tables. So then we what are some of the things that we need? You know, a number of things come up, and we had to pick the top 4 or 5. But housing, people didn't really like the solar. Education, we need education for kids leaving high school, maybe not going to college. It was another thing talked about. And of course, if you're going to have housing, you're going to have growth, you've got to have jobs. So I think we've had a good start to it. There was a lot of good ideas come up, and there was a lot of people from not just here in the Sandusky area, but down in Speaker Township, Worth Township, a number of townships that were there. So I think we're making great progress. I think when this master plan is done, it's going to encompass everything that we can think of to grow Sanilac County to be a viable county that people want to come and work and raise their family. Now, there's a lot of tasks ahead of us. We have to bring in new jobs. We have to have housing. We have to have all those things. Now we're going to have to figure out for the cities, the township, the county have to figure out how we're going to entice those things to come into our county. So we're on the right track. Was it, you guys aren't old enough to remember the right track, 9 Mile and Mac? That was a Chevrolet dealership. We're kind of on that track. It was kind of like that, right? That was the adult one. But I'm really impressed and happy to see the number of people we had out throughout our community last night. So, and yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Gary. Bill?
That was Roy O'Brien, by the way.
Yep,
Yes, yep, yeah.
the best deal in town.
You gotta be 50 and over, remember that or something like that.
I'm not in that category.
Child Abuse Prevention Council, they had a VOCA grant that they were working with for training, but there wasn't any training allowed because of COVID. So they ended up getting permission to purchase a new vehicle. So they were able to do that for them, and they approved their budget. And then there's going to be a baby pantry fundraiser. I think it's the second Sunday afternoon in I want to say Croswell. At Thumbs Up, I believe is where it's at, but there'll be some publicity coming out on that. Council on Aging, Joel mentioned volunteers needed. Senior Transportation still looking for volunteers to get some of our senior folks around to their needs. And a neat thing that I discovered they're doing in Lexington is seniors in town are ordering food from Jeff's. They're fulfilling the order, and then the police department is going around and delivering the food for them. And that gives them the opportunity to also do a wellness check when they bring the food to the senior residents that are there. So a neat little thing that's going on in Lexington. And then Lexington also had a grand opening for their senior center this week. And they're going to be open from 9 to 3 Monday through Thursday. And they had 38 seniors at their first opening. So that's been a need. They just haven't been able to get staff. So once again, if we can get staff for things, and of course, they're going to have people involved. Council on Aging also discussed their cost allocation letter that came from our county administrator, and they were quite pleased with the detailed information that he shared with them. And they were able to figure out a plan on how to cover the additional funding. And then lastly, this really hasn't anything to do with the committee, but our sheriff, there was a event at the museum. Our county museum had I want to call it a booth fest. It might have been something else the last 2 weekends. They had over 750 people attend. And in that process of planning for it, they needed a signature from law enforcement and had to be the sheriff. And so Paul dropped what he was doing and ran over there and signed off on what he needed to sign so they could pull off that event. So a great thing for the county. And if you didn't go, it was really a fun event for everybody.
Gosh.
So that's all I have.
Very good. Thank you, Bill. All right, we have no unfinished business, so we will move into new business. And we will start with FA 157-22, approval of 2022.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of current claims for 2022 identified in the accounts payable report dated October 11th, 2022 for the general bank account in the amount of $128,584.89. Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 158-22, budget adoptions, amendments, appropriations, and transfers.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the following amendments and establishes the following account as presented.
Support. We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 159-22, approval of additional general fund bank account checks charged to September 2022.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby approves the payment of additional general fund bank account checks charged to September 2022 as follows: $883,266.42 for ACH payments, $187,759.09 for checks, for a total of $1,071,025.51.
Support.
Motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Heberlein. Is there any discussion on the topic? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 160-22, award and authorized bid to purchase tractor, Parks Commission.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby awards and authorizes Tri-County Equipment of Sandusky the bid to purchase utility tractor for Forester Park at a cost not to exceed $38,678.64 with funding from the Parks Millage for immediate approval.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarkella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion?
Yes. That was really a good quote that we received from one of our local dealers that tied in with some type of governmental pricing.
Color.
And pardon me?
green.
Tri-county equipment, green.
What did I say?
I was just asking what color.
Okay.
You got blue there too, right?
You can get.
That's a dealership just down the road.
Yeah.
Oh, you get red ones. And
But anyway, I just want to say that that really helped us out. And the tractor that we currently have at Forest Park is going to go to Lexington. So basically we killed two birds with one stone.
Lexington is a tractor?
That's all I had to say.
okay, thank you. Roger, 38,000. That's gotta be a pretty good sized tractor. Was that like a 45?
52 horse.
52 horse. Okay, very good. Any further discussion related to FA 160-22? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 161-22, award and authorized bid for municipal water connection, Parks Commission.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby awards and authorizes Common Ground Electric of Minden City the bid for the connection of municipal water at Lexington Park at a cost of $11,967.18 for immediate approval.
Support.
We have a motion from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Heberlin. Is there any discussion on it? Hearing none, all those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Moving on to FA 162-22, authorization of payoff of jail debt bonds.
Sand Lake County Board of Commissioners hereby authorizes the payoff of one of the jail debt bonds in the amount of $1,222,708.07 with funding from ARPA funds.
Support.
We have a motion from Finance Chairman Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. Is there any discussion on the topic?
Yes, that's also going to save us $394,674 in interest payments. That's a plus for us. So.
Very good. Any further discussion related to FA 162-22? Hearing none, all in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. I believe that concludes new business. So we'll move on to general public comments. Are there any general public comments today?
I have a question. Now who is requiring the N95 masks be worn at Mackenzie Hospital? Is that a state requirement or?
That would be a question for Mackenzie Hospital. This board has zero purview over what they do. It's a private entity.
He left. I was gonna ask him. Okay, I just wondered if you knew. I'll make it.
Okay. Any further public comments today? Hearing none, we will move on. There is no closed session. There's no need for approval of closed session minutes. I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Support.
Have a motion to adjourn from Commissioner Sarcella, support from Commissioner Ballard. All those in favor, signal by saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 2:02. Thank you, everyone.